in the most interesting cities. Charleston, South Carolina. Even today, the name of Charleston evokes concerns and historical realities tied to not just the Middle Passage, but to the Emmanuel Nine. I was there then. Or to Louisville, Kentucky, or even being from Macon and having worked in DeKalb and now leaving, but having served in Birmingham to come to a city called Atlanta. When I reflect, based on your question on that journey, what I thought might have been just me planning was a purposed journey. And I see that now better than I ever could. Because when I'm having this conversation about serving as the superintendent of Atlanta Public Schools, I go back to Burn Street. I've actually gone back the last couple of weeks and driven by there. You ever just go back and drive to remember and remind yourself? Down through Thomasville Heights, some concerns about what hasn't changed and what has, right? This tells me that I was being prepared along the way. Sometimes when I thought I was being punished, I was being prepared. And that even when I thought I was planning, that there's a much bigger plan than me. And you don't know that until you find yourself in a new season or in a new reality. Certainly, without question, all of these experiences, and even the ones that I may not even recall in this moment, have been by design. And I'm grateful for that.
It's absolutely, it's amazing, navigating those steps and reflecting and recollecting. And, I remember when you left Louisville, I remember when you went to Louisville, I remember when you went to Birmingham. And I remember, the situation with Birmingham when you went there, and to see where Birmingham schools were 3 years ago when you were hiring, and to see all the data and all the reports that are out that chronicles the progress, tremendous progress that took place in Birmingham City Schools under your administration. My question would be, what in the world happened? What did you attribute the success? The test scores went up. I mean, so many things happened. And I want to know, because I think it's very, very important for other leaders, what did you do to help bring in that level of improvement there in Birmingham?
So urban superintendency and leading school systems is not an easy task. For me, I understood that that's what I had chosen to sign up for in doing the work. Not too long ago, actually this week, I spoke with, I was with Mayor Woodfin, the mayor of Birmingham, and we were reflecting on the last 3 years. He reminded me of my interview when I interviewed for the position of superintendency. You can still probably find it if you look hard enough. It was live streamed. During the interview, Pastor, there was a bomb threat during my live interview. Didn't know it at the time. Literally, security and the attorney walks over and just out of nowhere pulls me, and then they say to everyone, we've got to evacuate the building. We go over, we wait for a little over an hour. I had to pull out my phone to figure out what was going on. They hadn't told me yet, and on my phone were all the media alerts. Bomb threat during Birmingham superintendent's interview. There was another candidate waiting to interview who, during the bomb threat, because he too was in Birmingham waiting to interview, just bowed out gracefully, said thank you, but no thank you. We don't think this is for us. They came back shortly thereafter and asked me, Dr. Herring, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go back in and I want to finish this interview. That's what I came here to do. Mayor Woodfin shared that because he said he knew then that for him, I was the person to help lead and change Birmingham. Changing a school system doesn't come with a magic wand. There is no special formula. There are evidence and research-based practices, and we've certainly embraced those. But the first thing I had to do was honor and respect the culture of Birmingham. I knew that there was a responsibility for me to respect the history of Birmingham, to respect the foot soldiers who are still very much there, but then to also work to build trust. Because one of the things I said in the first few, what I would call all hands on deck meetings, which means the entire organization, they heard me say that I know that change happens at the speed of trust. And who am I, this newcomer to Birmingham? Addressing cultural, organizational needs and cultural changes and the culture of the organization was critical. Other things that I say that I think are not to be minimized, but are tied to instructional practices. I'm sometimes referred to as an instructionalist. I don't know that I say that as much, but I get it. I needed to ensure that all of our principals had solid instructional leadership, that we were grounded in instructional practices that were not only research-based, but as much as we were focusing on the culture of the school system, we had to push into the culture of the schools. In addition to that, we had to assess leadership. I've been fortunate that in the time that I've been there, I've hired over half of the schools have new leadership. Some retired out, et cetera, but that was a critical part. We poured and focused very strategically into teachers and professional development. I made a personal commitment to be visible in schools, and I was and have been, and there's not a school in Birmingham where they haven't seen the superintendent, either announced or unannounced, not for a gotcha, but for that culture building. And then for us to be accountable on our data. Our data told us upon my arrival, the system was underperforming. I had 22 F-rated schools. I leave 17 have been eliminated. Of 22, 17 had been eliminated. And then we now find ourselves in a space where we're right at about 6. So we're looking at practices still. The report card for the school system has gone up each year. We're on an upward trajectory. And I've said to them, you have a blueprint for instructional excellence. If you change anything, please hold on to that, because a new blueprint is in place. Relationships and working on culture, again, no magic wand, but a part of the intentional ongoing work. And now I have to say that I'm excited to be able to take those practices and others and find myself leading Atlanta Public Schools. Kudos to what APS has done to date. But in this new season, I'm excited to take the lead to now help us move in another level of success.
Wow. You talked about the excitement, the things that you accomplished at the APS. It's a great segue to my next question. We see the excitement, the experiences that have prepared you for this moment. Are there any concerns, any issues, any fears that you may have as you take on the helm of the superintendency of Atlanta Public Schools?
So I will tell you that as a leader, it is not my style, nor is it my belief to embrace a sense of fear. I recognize that there will be challenges, and I expect and will own that. And I look forward to collaborating with the leaders, the school board, the community to address those challenges, but not in fear, but in focus. I think that's critical. I think that has to be said, and it has to be heard, because it also establishes a sense of a confidence, or at least, if I know for me, it's more comforting for those who follow the system to know that that is the space in which I lead. But I am concerned about a few things. Just like we're doing this interview on this platform virtually, the pandemic is real. It still exists. And that is top of mind for me as it relates to our transitioning. I start July 1. And I've said that Dr. Karstafen and superintendents all across the country, many with whom I interface with on a regular basis across the U.S. With larger systems, we talk about the readiness for a time in which none of us could have been fully prepared. That's top of mind for me for the transition into Atlanta Public Schools, and to be able to give reassurance. Now, I say that with the following statement. I also know my wheelhouse. So I recognize the importance of listening to experts, whether those are the experts with infectious diseases, epidemiologists, and otherwise, to make the soundest and safest decisions on behalf of our children, as well as the adults who serve them. I've been saying this over the last couple of weeks during my engagement. It is not just the preparedness that we have to embrace to come back into the physical brick and mortar of the school. People have been traumatized. There's been psychological impact around this. And so there's another level of responsibility in how can we care for and assess that and still also educate. Those are top of mind priorities and concerns. And I go back, and we can't be afraid. We've got to be focused. But I do want to be clear around the need for that to be the most critical part of the preparation of the transition.
I mean, listen to how the journey, and just, it's amazing. You start your interview with Birmingham City Schools, and in the middle of the interview, there's a bomb threat. You're getting ready to start with superintendents of Atlanta Public Schools, and the worst pandemic in 100 years, coronavirus, has affected and shut down the world. And so having to lead in that type of context, the thing about it is I know you're prepared for it, and it's so exciting for me to see your journey and to know who you are. And I'm excited for the city of Atlanta. I'm excited for the administrators. I'm excited for the teachers, the parents, and the entire constituency, because I know who you are. And I know the journey means a lot. So I know the journey. I know who you are. But what can the citizens of Atlanta, what can the persons who are part of the Atlanta public school system, administrators, teachers, students, what do they get when they get Dr. Lisa Herring?
So I should be clear in that response of what do they get. They get a prepared professional who is passionate about education. That preparedness doesn't come from just having served as superintendent for Birmingham City Schools for the last 3 years, but having a career in which a good portion of that was tied to preparedness for trauma and tragedy, etc. I take great pride, if I can use that word, in having gone through experiences that force us to be prepared. Pride doesn't mean I enjoyed it. It just means that I survived it. And so for that, I am stronger. And so I bring a different strength to where we are. But beyond being prepared, I am passionate about what education means. We are, you and I, products of Bibb County Public Schools. We are sitting here as living proof as to a good public education and what that means. And if we can be exceptional examples of that, everyone can. We are not the exception. We're just exemplars, if I can say that. Every child deserves that. I believe that. That then ties to my passion. The core business of a school system is teaching and learning. 2 parts, 2 key end recipients: teaching, the educator; learning, the children. The data is tied to how our children perform. I want people to know that I'm serious about being accountable for that in the most ethical and responsible of ways. And my passion is also just the joy of seeing children win, to see them succeed, and to know that we played some part in that. That's what I believe my purpose is as well. So that's what you get. And I am grateful and I'm humble that a board thought enough of me to make this move in this season, a unique one, but one in which I am committed to seeing Atlanta Public Schools move to its next elevated level of success, and to be given the responsibility to help champion that is a responsibility that I take seriously, keeping children and families in mind.
That's outstanding. One last question I want to ask you. How has the reception been in terms of the other public officials? Do you feel confident that people are going to galvanize around your efforts? Because it takes a team, and I think everybody has to be on the same page. How has that reception been thus far?
So it has been heartfelt and very energetic. Let me start out by saying, in addition to the 9 school board members for Atlanta Public Schools, all for whom I am very grateful, all 9 of them, their level of support and encouragement has been game-changing. I have already been fortunate to start and have had conversations with Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and so I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to develop and grow that relationship. I spoke also to CEO Michael Thurman because there are some shared demographics between Atlanta and DeKalb, and I've been encouraged and excited in that space. I've spoken to the Atlanta City's Council. I've spoken to commissioners. I've spoken with Governor Kemp. That continues to, so that expansion of communication continues to evolve and develop. Key CEOs and partners from across the city of Atlanta have not only extended their outreach, but when I say to you that the last 2 to 3 weeks have been intense engagement, we've calculated that I've had over 3,500 individuals with whom I've interacted with over a short window of time. We own that we're in a pandemic and that a good bit of that has been virtual, but it has been. And it's been impactful. And I think there's something about this season that we all should pay attention to. Just as you've shared, you've created a platform because you know that people are tuning in. I saw people tuning in over the last several weeks, and so I've been intentional. I'm energized by what I see. I'm even energized by those who may be uncertain and have doubt, because that gives me the opportunity to show and to demonstrate what is an authentic desire to lead. It has been well received. I'm excited about even more. I've also had a chance to interface with clergy and the faith-based community throughout Atlanta, and I understand that there's more to come in that space. So, Pastor, even this platform speaks volumes to that. I'm coming home. It's a homecoming. It is for me. And I think even beyond that, it is an opportunity to do great work in the place we call home. And I don't think that there's anything greater than that. I'm grateful for every past experience. But to do it in Georgia, that's a different kind of excitement, as you well know, as you well know.
You know, this has been absolutely incredible. I wish you just could see this little heart of mine to see how happy and how excited I am, and how thankful and how truly humbled and appreciative I am to you. Even though I know we have a relationship, I respect and I honor your time. And I know the assignment is great. And I want you to know we're going to support you here,
Yes.
vociferously, and all our resources and everything that we have, is yours to bear. If you need it, we're going to supply it. So just thank you for being a part. I thank you for sharing your time, taking time out of your schedule to share with those who are watching. I appreciate you, and I'm happy for you, and I thank God for you. It means a lot. It really does. So
That is mutual.
those who've been watching the Hope TV today, I hope you've been inspired by this episode of One on One. Not just learning about the new superintendent of APS, but also to remember the importance of the journey, and how sometimes you're being prepared for things. When it feels like punishment, it could be preparation. Hope you've been blessed by Dr. Lisa Herring, our newly appointed and newly elected chairman, superintendent of the board, elected by the APS Board of Education. She's going to be the superintendent of the APS starting July 1, and we're excited to have her here. Keep pursuing your dreams, no matter what it looks like. And we're going to log off now, but always remember this: if you will be good to God, God will be good to you. You've been watching One on One on the Hope TV. Until next time, peace.